Welcome back to it. This is weird. Don't forget the live streaming event comes up on October the 29th, and we will be live on the socials and doing that. That should be a lot of fun. It is
conjure
Halloween.
Up some spirits, maybe.
Yeah, well, there'll be spirits. I don't know if it'll be of the supernatural variety, but there'll be spirits that night.
Lots of them
on the live stream. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for downloading it. Thursdays is the day that you can download the Haunted AF podcast. Our buddy Julie Fisk is here. She and Rebecca Black are the hosts of the Haunted AF podcast, and we have lots of questions because it's you guys focus on ghosts and the supernatural. And how did this get started?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, Bernie, like we all know each other from radio. We all worked in the same building for a long time, and that's how Rebecca and I became friends. And when I lost my job, I initially was a film critic, and so I was covering movies. And Rebecca and I started doing movie reviews together. And we had a podcast called Boozy Movies, where we would get drunk. We'd go to a screening and get drunk, and then we would record ourselves giving the reviews, and it was a lot of fun.
Bernie has had this idea, I think, about 17 times with me too. He's like, "What if we went to movies and got drunk and we could just talk about them?"
But I didn't want to record anything. I just wanted
to it wasn't even about a podcast.
Right? It had nothing to do with content. It was just I want to go to a movie and get drunk.
Yeah, which is really an idea, but it is after a while. It's like taxing, and it is expensive, and nobody was listening. We had like 12 regular listeners, so and you can still find those. Actually, our Get Out review I still think is like one of our better ones. It's like 3 white women try to review Get Out without sounding like racist idiots.
And there's drinks involved, which is never a good idea.
Yeah. But then we stopped doing it for a while just because nobody was listening. And then we started finding these great podcasts like Morbid and My Favorite Murder, that are these like female-led podcasts that were very similar to what we were already doing. And we're like, let's just try again with something we both love. And we've always loved ghost stories and the paranormal and anything creepy.
Same.
We love scary movies. We love all that stuff. So we started it, and it's funny. There's actually a million paranormal podcasts. At the time, I thought, well, there's too many movie podcasts. Maybe we'll have more luck with there's probably more paranormal podcasts than anything. But it's done really well. We've got a solid following, and I think the thing that makes ours a little different is that people send in their stories from all over the world, and we let them. They can videotape themselves or just send us audio, so they get to tell the stories themselves. So you get to hear other voices. It's not, I think it's kind of boring just hearing the two of us talk all the time.
It's just the two of you. One holding a flashlight under their chin.
And so it's slightly better than that because we get to have all these other, and it's wonderful. Like we just got a story from Bangladesh, like, Sri Lanka, these really great stories, and to hear these voices, and it's kind of unifying. Like this is something we all have.
And I would guess that by culture, if you're getting stuff from different cultures, what scares people and what makes up those type of experiences differ by culture.
Well, it's just funny. Like, it's interesting. We've gotten a lot of stories from the Philippines, and they have a lot of these kind of deities, these natural deities, or they'll have the wood spirits. And those are really cool. And it seems like there's a lot of hair involved in those stories where seriously they'll wake up and like somebody wakes up with this huge wad of hair in their mouth and they don't know where it came from. Seriously. Yes.
That sounds like a night when I drank with all my buddies and was the first one that passed out.
I woke up with hair in my mouth.
What the hell? Wait, I need explanations. What happens? What do they do when you fall asleep?
Lots.
I woke up with hair in my mouth and somebody drew a penis on my forehead. Ooh.
No, I think it's more than just that. It's more than just that. But yeah, there's some stories, if there's a lot of religion involved, and there tends to be demons and possessions and that kind of stuff. So we also have, La Llorona, that comes from Mexico, who is like the ghost, and a lot of people claim to have seen La Llorona. She's the one, God, what's this? There was actually a movie that just came out about her recently, but she's the old lady that will pull you into the water if it starts raining or you're near a creek bed or something. Then she's this ghost that will find you and pull you in. So yes, the cultural ones are great, but I just love hearing different voices and accents. And we get lots of stories from Australia too, which is really interesting.
Bernie is the skeptic. Bernie doesn't believe in any kind of ghosts or ghost stories.
It's not that I don't believe. I've never had the experience that others have had. And every time I hear somebody describe it, I'm maybe, yes, skeptical. Skeptical is a good word, I guess.
Well, we have a theory that seeing ghosts or having experiences, it's kind of like liking cilantro. It's like a DNA thing. Either you do or you don't. So, some people have tons of experiences, and some people like me just have one or two like big ones. And then there are people like you who just won't have any experiences. And sometimes people really want to have them. They'll go and do all the ghost hunts and everything and still never see anything.
Yeah.
See, I grew up in a haunted house. I saw lots and lots of stuff that came on. So you wouldn't look at the house and you wouldn't say like, oh, that's the creepy haunted house. But I'll tell you that how I feel that it became haunted was when we moved in, because my parents bought the house. I think I was 9, 10, somewhere around there. The family that lived there before, the couple lived upstairs. Their old elderly father lived downstairs in the basement.
Right.
And about a week and a half after they moved out and we took over the house and moved in, he died. And he was on a boat, had a heart attack with his grandson, and passed away. Well, he lived in that basement for many, 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 many years. So I feel like his spirit came back because that's where it knew. Because it wasn't one of those ghosts that would just like purposely freak you out. Mm-hmm. He was actually kind of kind in a way. So things would happen, and the minute you got spooked and freaked about it, and he noticed your reaction, the ghost, it would stop immediately, like on a dime. It wouldn't just. So I'll give you a couple stories. First off, the computer room downstairs that we built the wall around to make it a computer room. It would drastically change between hot and freezing cold, drastically. Like you would be in there just working on something, all of a sudden you're freezing and shaking or sweating. That is a big sign. A lot of ghost hunters.
Is that a common thread, by the way? Do you find common threads in stories? Sorry to interrupt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The temperature changes, that's a huge harbinger. Would things happen after that, or was that the primary, or would that signal that he was there?
Well, the minute you walked in there, you felt something. So like and there was this weird. We should have torn the walls down to the closet that was back there too, because all we did was keep it as like storage. So there was like old files and it was damp and dark and no light. The light never freaking worked in there. And if you put a new bulb in it, it would work for like 5 seconds and shut off.
This is like the holy trinity of haunted shit, you know? At the basement, you got the weird bathroom down there, the flickering lights. Actually, more than the trinity. Like, that's a lot. That's definitely a lot.
So that room would have a lot of moments. Things would kind of move. You just feel a presence. And then no matter when, if it was in the middle of the day, when you walked up the stairs to go upstairs, you always felt like something was behind you. Always. You always get that. The thing is, I don't feel that anymore when I go there. So I think I don't have any more experiences. So I feel like the spirit left somehow. But back then, everybody would tell you when they walk up them stairs, you can feel something behind you. And especially if all the lights are off downstairs, you get that, like, every hair on the back of your back, neck, your ears, it just all stands up, and you're like, you walk fast. Like, you don't like mosey up the stairs. You go.
Go.
Well, don't you figure, if Bernie had been there, would Bernie have sensed it, or would he have been like, what's the big deal? Like, I don't, or do you think?
Was it specific to people at the house?
No, friends, people that would come over. I'd hear it from several people. Like, did you like feel something when you walk up the stairs? Like, did you get chills? And I'm like, yeah, every time. But living there, you get used to it. You just know that there's a dude living with you that you can't really see. Yeah. It becomes like
did you ever talk to him?
Yeah. Like, we didn't have like seances or like try to like bring him out or anything, but I'd be like, if you're sitting downstairs, and this happens at a lot of houses just because they settle and whatnot, but it was more than settling, because you'd sit downstairs and watch a movie or something. Generally, it was when you were by yourself. So you're sitting down there, you're watching the movie, and you hear literal footsteps in the hallway upstairs. You know where the hallway is, and you know exactly where you're hearing the footsteps, and it's step, 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 step. And then we would be like, I don't remember his name. I think we made up something, but we're like, all right, man, come on, calm it down. Like, stop, you're freaking me out. And generally you wouldn't hear it again.
Go with a broom.
Yeah. Come on,
knock it off.
Charles, quit it, dude.
One-eyed Larry, stop it. I presume. I mean, I'm throwing that out. Maybe it was one-eyed Larry. I don't know.
Turn him into a pirate.
Right.
In that in that hallway too, there was 2 bedrooms back in that corner of that hallway, and the one had a lot of activity. And we changed throughout our childhood. We'd change rooms, and I'd be in a different room. My sister would be in that room, or my little baby sister was a nursery at one point. And so two I really remember from that room was when it was my sister's room. I was across the way in another room watching TV, and she screamed out, "Kathy, help me!" And that's my mom's name. And when my mom ran down there to see what was happening, the door was closed, but she saw it opening like about a quarter of the way and stopped. Now, Bernie, the skeptic, will say, "Hey, that's probably like wind or something pushed the door. Maybe it was a cat." Well, the carpet was of such that the door, you had to push it across the carpet because it was hard, like it was stuck. It wasn't balanced right. So you literally had to give it a push.
Yeah.
So a cat couldn't have done it, and the wind definitely couldn't have done it. And she saw it happen. So then secondly, in that same room, when it was my younger sister's room and we had a bed in there, occasionally I'd get spooked in the basement where my bedroom was. So I went up there and slept on that bed. When my sister was sleeping in my parents' room, my baby sister. And she had this rocking horse in there. You know the plastic one with the springs on all 4 sides? Yeah. And I'm laying in there, and
the ones that are in the horror movies?
Yes.
Yeah. Those are the wooden ones.
I'm sorry.
Knowing that room was haunted, I probably should have been like, we shouldn't have that horse in here because I know what's going to happen with that.
That thing's going to kill me. That's going to rise up and kill me.
Well, out of nowhere, it starts rocking like somebody's on it. And like I told you before, I was laying in the bed. I hear it and I see it just in the darkness. I see it moving and I'd go, and right when I did that, it didn't rock to a stop, just stopped. Just stopped.
Oh, wow.
Oh, God.
Like somebody went and just pushed it down.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, dude, get out of here. There's so many stories like that growing up. So I am all in on the ghost stories and I absolutely love it.
So what are some highlights that you people are talking to your podcast, and what are some highlights that you've gotten? Funny, sexy? Are there sexy ghost stories? Is that a thing? I want to know. I want to know salacious details of. I want Kesha stuff, like Kesha slept with a ghost. That's
We
the
haven't
sort
had
of
one
thing.
like that. Yeah, I'm really surprised we haven't had like the carnal knowledge ghost yet. We did have one succubus who but she wasn't nice. She crawled in bed with a guy and was like, grabbing him and stuff, but it wasn't pleasant.
Hey, I'm married. If somebody just grabbed me every once in a while, I'd be happy.
I'm married.
I'm kidding,
I'll take
sweetheart.
a ghost stopping by every month or so. It's fine.
The succubus. Yeah,
little rub and tug from a ghost. I'm happy. It's all good.
Watch what you ask for, man.
That's what you're right.
It might be old. It might be old one-legged Charles from back at home.
Yeah.
One-eyed Larry.
Yeah.
Might take you way too literally with that tug, dragging you around the house. And I will say one thing that's funny, Bernie, just before I start telling ghost stories, because once I get started, it's going to be hard to shut me up.
That's fine. That's fine.
But one of the things, if you do want an experience, and this is true, this is a real phenomenon, and it's not just with Haunted AF. If you listen to a lot of paranormal podcasts, you'll start noticing things. Things will start happening. And I've had so many friends, we've had so many people who will contact us and say, I had to stop listening for a little bit because so much stuff was happening in my house. And it's usually the smaller things, like what you were talking about, like doors moving, keys going missing, the footsteps, like that kind of activity.
You're creating paranormal activity with your voice.
But is that not like in your own head at that point? Like I'm listening to that information and now I'm super hypersensitive to it. And I'm spooked.
When you watch a horror movie,
right?
Yeah, you watch a horror movie, you can't go into the back bathroom by yourself, Can't go look in the mirror and say Candyman 3 times.
there's something to that. Like, why is it? But these are things where you're not like just imagining it. Like one of my girlfriends had been listening to the podcast, and she's serious, no nonsense person. And all of a sudden their the little outside radio by their pool started malfunctioning. And it would just in the middle of the night turn on, and they'd start hearing this static sound coming, and they'd have to go and turn it off. Nobody had turned this thing on. And she was like, I think it's your podcast. But we get so many of those stories.
That's
and again,
amazing.
it's usually little things. A woman, what was her name? Myra maybe was in the shower, and she's so cute. She's like, I gotta turn you girls off because like now my shower, somebody, and she has the hot and cold nozzles, and all of a sudden it'll be blasting cold, but she'll realize even though the cold wasn't on, it's now turned on full blast, and the hot is completely turned off. So all kinds of just like weird little things like that would happen.
It's opposite for our podcast. It's like we get people that write in and are like, my 7-year-old's now trying to suntan his butthole because your guys' podcast.
We talked about that. Yeah, that was the thing we talked about.
Why are you suntanning your butthole?
It's not. It came up in the
It's a
news.
thing. It was a thing.
I feel like you've thrown the brakes on the interview, Otis.
I'm sorry.
I feel like we were moving in a nice clip, and you had to bring that into it.
I wanted to contrast the different podcasts.
No, it's fine. We should probably just keep walking. All right, we're just gonna keep walking.
Lift your butt up, like how
Look,
is it like knees? It's a
It
yoga.
feels like we're stopping down for no reason. Why are we stopping here? This is a thing that Otis brought to the table because he can't read the conversation well. We're not talking about that. I don't know why we have to do that.
All right. So
okay,
what is
so
what is one of your most memorable haunts that somebody gave you?
we were going with the sexy ghost stories, and those are actually really fun. So I did want to tell y'all a couple of those because we had one from Barb, and they had purchased an old home, and she and her husband were redecorating, and this what did they call her? Mrs. Jenkins or something. The woman who had lived there before had passed away, and she didn't like any of the design choices that they were making. Like they had purchased some paint, and then they came home one day and the paint was spilled everywhere, or there would be a flower arrangement thrown off on the floor. So all kinds of just this weird random activity. But the main thing is anytime they would try to have sex, this whatever it was would turn on the bedroom lights. So they would be in the middle. And she said at first it was a showstopper. Like they'd be like, all right, okay, stop. Yeah. But after a while they would just
God,
go.
what are we? Is that what we look like naked? What is happening?
She said after a while, well, she clearly just wants to watch. So we're going to put on a good show for her. So they would just, anytime the lights would flick on or flick back off again, they were like, whatever, get yours because we're getting ours. The other big one, this came from a comedian named Bobby Mack, and this is one of the stories we told on the Kelly Clarkson show. Bobby was young. He was, I think, 16 years old, and he was trying to lose his virginity with this girl that he was, dating, and her family was out of town, and he was coming over, all excited, finally going to happen. But she had told him her house is haunted. Mm-hmm. So he gets in there. He tells the story so well because he's like, he's about to go down. He's all excited about it. And and what happens? Like he starts noticing she has these little figurines on her dresser, and the figurines start kind of flying off the dresser. And she was like, "Uh-oh."
See, he's trying to refocus because he's probably like, "Oh, too soon." Figurines, baseball.
So he noticed these little figurines coming off of actually, it wasn't even that far. He didn't have his pants off yet. They're like still in the bed.
All right.
And but he starts noticing,
I got
and
too far ahead.
She says, somebody's getting angry. And he's like, what are you talking about? So that's finally like the clothes are starting to come off, and he stands up to take off his pants, and out of the bedroom door just flew open behind him, and he freaks out. He thinks it's going to be her dad or something. And
out the window. I would have been out the third story window before you even told me it was the ghost.
Exactly. But yeah, there was nobody there. And after that, he was like, I was done. He, grabbed his clothes and he ran out the door.
You know what I would have been done?
To this
the
day,
minute she said,
never had sex.
Never tried again.
It ran him off of sex permanently.
You know who that wasn't? It wasn't a ghost. That was the Lord telling you to remain celibate.
It's like, get some Jesus.
And that man became a priest.
Yeah. So I got to give it to him for sticking around. I mean, I probably would have as well, but I would have really had a hard thought about sticking around after she said, "Uh-oh, He's mad.
Yes, I think
Who are we talking about?
the what's the correct word there?
Julie will get this. Anybody that's seen the movie Teeth he would be very upset. If he's getting mad, we're leaving. We're leaving. The Haunted AF podcast is available where you get podcasts. It drops on Thursday, and I'm excited. I'm excited about what you guys are doing. You guys did Kelly Clarkson last year. That was exciting.
Yes, we did Chris Jericho's podcast, Talk is Jericho. Oh, and here, make sure you check out the website. It's hauntedaf.com.
Swag.
We got
Merch.
swag, but we post on YouTube as well, so you can hear the podcast or you can watch them on YouTube. And the website, we have companion blogs. So whenever we talk, we always have these videos. People will send in videos of voices they're hearing in their house. We had a guy recently who kept hearing a baby crying in the middle of the night, so he got up and recorded. And so we have a lot of really great video and photos and like evidence, I guess you would want to call it. So we share that stuff on YouTube and in the companion blogs as well. So you can.
By the way, that was his baby. He needed to pay attention to that. That was the sound of his baby. I keep hearing baby in the middle of the night.
You know what that is?
Baby.
No, go listen to this video. Is really wild. It's really cool because he's walking through his house and he says that there's no one around. He's married to a man. They don't have a baby, and but he has. I think he works the early shift, so he gets up at 3:00 every morning. When he's walking through his house, he hears this baby crying, and he recorded it for us. It's awesome. I mean,
wow.
It's amazing. What do you do?
I wish something would have happened while you were telling ghost stories at the back of Bernie's basement.
Oh, something reached up and like something like.
Matter of fact, I should have paid his wife to do something. I didn't even. I should have thought ahead.
A little orb goes floating across the background. So that'd be excellent.
All right, the Haunted AF podcast is available where you can get podcasts. Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, guys. Thanks
It's
for
good to
having
see
me.
you.
Thanks, Julie.
This is weird.
Thanks for joining us on the YouTube page. We appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe to the page and get updates and new videos and all kinds of stuff, or don't. Really, I'm not going to sleep any differently if you do or don't, but we'd love it if you did.